Week 14 brings a perfect storm of declarations shaking the Bears' world. A football legend just dropped a bomb that has all of Chicago divided between fury and genuine concern. Meanwhile, a Super Bowl champion who wore the navy blue and orange jersey makes a prediction that has fans dreaming about February. And in the middle of all this, analysts across the country debate whether this season is already historic. No matter what happens in January, three explosive perspectives about the same team. One single question: are the Bears ready to silence all the skeptics? Aaron Donald just said out loud what many Bears rivals think privately, and his words are generating an absolute firestorm across social media and sports programs nationwide. The three-time Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl 56 champion, future first-ballot Hall of Famer, decided to share his brutally honest opinion about Chicago's chances in the January playoffs. Donald launched a podcast with former quarterback Matt Ryan back in September, and on Thursday the Bears became the central topic of a discussion that has Chicago's fanbase oscillating between absolute outrage and genuine concern. One of the show's co-hosts, Atlanta sports journalist Zach Klein, asked him a direct question that generated an even more direct and devastating response. Klein asked if he believed anyone in the National Football League was truly scared of the Bears now that they have a 9-3 record and are the number 1 seed in the National Conference. Donald's answer was like a punch straight to the stomach of every Chicago fan. They earned that position, but I'm not gonna lie. If I was playing, I wouldn't mind facing the Bears in a playoff game. That hurts. That hurts deeply because it comes from someone who knows exactly what he's talking about. Donald isn't a television analyst looking to generate cheap controversy for ratings. He's not a radio commentator trying to provoke angry calls from listeners. He's someone who absolutely dominated the league for over a decade. Someone who destroyed offensive lines considered impenetrable. Someone who won the ultimate championship when everything was on the line. When Aaron Donald speaks about playoff football, about what it takes to win in January, about which teams have the necessary characteristics to survive and advance, people listen. Coaches listen. General managers listen. Players listen. Because Donald didn't just play at that level. He dominated at that level in ways that very few defensive players in the history of the sport have achieved. But Donald didn't stop at that initial devastating declaration. He continued explaining his reasoning in a way that's honestly extremely difficult to refute even for the most optimistic Bears fan. Without disrespecting or undermining the Bears, he said with a calmness that somehow made his words even more impactful, but they have young players who've never played in that scenario yet. It's different. Playoff football. It's a completely different atmosphere. And there's the key point that has analysts across the country nodding their heads in agreement. Donald is 100% right in his fundamental assessment. The intensity of playoff games, the crushing pressure of sudden elimination, the psychological weight of knowing one single mistake can end your entire season in an instant, represents a significant, monumental, almost incomprehensible jump from regular season football. Young teams without any postseason experience can easily crumble under that pressure. That seems to increase with every single play, especially if they're matched against a team that's been there before, that knows the way, that understands exactly what it takes to execute when the lights are brightest, and the margins for error are non-existent. The Bears haven't come anywhere close to a playoff game in 5 full years. The last time this team played January football was in 2020, and that was a brief, painful, completely forgettable appearance that ended with a humiliating wild card round defeat. Most of the players on this current roster have never personally experienced the unique pressure of an NFL sudden elimination game. Caleb Williams, for all his generational talent and seemingly limitless potential, is a second-year quarterback. He's never played a single down of professional playoff football. Ben Johnson, as brilliant as he is as an offensive coordinator and as innovative as his schemes are, is in his first season with Chicago. The offensive line, though significantly improved compared to last year's disaster, is still learning to play together under extreme pressure. Donald continued elaborating his point with the authority of someone who lived those moments under the sport's brightest lights. When you get to the playoffs, every single possession matters exponentially more than during the regular season. Every mistake gets magnified to gigantic proportions. The difference between winning and losing, between advancing and going home, often comes down to one or two absolutely critical plays in the fourth quarter. And in those moments that define seasons and careers, experience matters in ways that are difficult to quantify but impossible to ignore. Teams that have been there before, that have felt that pressure and survived, instinctively know how to handle it. They know how to execute when every play feels like the entire world is watching. They know how to maintain composure when everything seems to be falling apart. But here's the flip side of the coin that Donald also acknowledged, though perhaps without giving it the full weight it deserves. The Bears earned that #1 conference position. It wasn't blind luck. It wasn't an artificially easy schedule. It wasn't a series of fortunate circumstances that fell perfectly into place. It was consistent, relentless, impressive execution. During 13 weeks of professional football, it was Caleb Williams literally growing before our eyes, transforming from a promising prospect into a quarterback, making plays that other quarterbacks in the league simply cannot make. It was Ben Johnson designing offensive schemes so creative, so unpredictable, so perfectly executed that they have defensive coordinators with decades of experience completely baffled. It was an offensive line that has protected infinitely better than last year's absolute disaster. The question then becomes something much more nuanced than Donald suggests. Can experience be replaced, or at least compensated for, by pure talent and unstoppable momentum? The Bears are playing their best football of the year at the absolutely perfect moment. They have confidence bursting from every player in that locker room. They have offensive chemistry that took months to develop, but now seems almost telepathic. Donald is right that youth can be a significant playoff disadvantage. League history is full of talented young teams that arrived in January with high expectations, only to be brutally eliminated in the first round by more experienced teams that maybe didn't have the same raw talent, but did have the knowledge of how to win when it matters most. But youth can also be a powerful advantage that Donald perhaps underestimates. Young players don't carry the psychological weight of past playoff failures. They don't have emotional scars from wasted opportunities. They're not paralyzed by fear of failure, because frankly they don't know enough to have that kind of paralyzing fear. They play with a freedom, an audacity, an almost irrational confidence that veterans sometimes lose after years of disappointments. What do you think about Donald's words? Do you believe he's right about the inexperience, or is he dangerously underestimating this team? Leave your comment below and tell us if the Bears are gonna silence all the skeptics in January. Now, after all that negativity and doubt that Donald just injected into the conversation, it's time to hear from someone who truly, genuinely, deeply believes in this Chicago Bears team. Ron Rivera, the man nicknamed Riverboat Ron during his time as head coach for his fourth down aggressiveness, knows a thing or two about what it takes to reach the Super Bowl and win everything. Rivera won a championship with the Bears as a player on the legendary, mythical, absolutely dominant 1985 team. He reached to more Super Bowls as a coach, first as the Bears defensive coordinator and then as head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So when Ron Rivera speaks about the Chicago Bears, about their potential, about their future, it's absolutely worth paying very close attention. Rivera also has an extremely clear idea of what it means to develop a young uber-talented quarterback and help him become an elite star in the National Football League. He personally oversaw the drafting and meteoric rise of Cam Newton, the #1 overall pick, turning him into an MVP caliber player who led the Panthers to a Super Bowl. That direct experience gives Rivera a unique perspective on what he's seeing in Caleb Williams. The man who's now general manager at the University of California, Berkeley, told Good Morning Football this week that he sees some of those same dynamic characteristics, those same special tools, that same indefinable X factor in the Bears quarterback. He also firmly believes that the young quarterback's ascending talent can deliver to Chicago Bears fans what they've been desperately waiting for since 1985. I do see those moments that show you exactly why he was the #1 pick. Rivera told Good Morning Football co-host Kyle Brandt with a conviction that was impossible to ignore. He has a tremendous amount of talent, but he still has to learn and completely master the rest of his game. I think part of that is simply understanding the deep knowledge of the game, understanding the critical importance of being able to sit comfortably in the pocket, methodically go through your reads, make the plays that are there, or intelligently throw the ball away. Rivera continued with an observation that simultaneously constructive criticism and genuine praise, the kind of balanced evaluation that only comes from someone who truly understands quarterback development at an elite level. Every now and then I see him trying to force things, trying to make things happen through sheer force of will. You don't always have to do that. Sometimes you just take what the defense is giving you and manage the game efficiently, and then When they really need you to make a big play, when that critical moment arrives, you step up and make it. This is exactly, word for word, what elite quarterback coaches constantly preach. Don't be a hero on every play until it's time to be a hero. Tom Brady became the absolute legend that he is, the greatest of all time, by following precisely this philosophy for 2 decades. He managed the game with robotic efficiency, took exactly what the defense gave him without forcing anything, kept his team in position to win. And then when the absolutely critical moment arrived in the fourth quarter, he made the play that mattered. Williams has the physical talent to put on the Superman cape on literally every play if he wanted to. But he's still actively working on making the layups consistently, on taking the easy gains when they're available, on not trying to win the game on every single down. Once he completely masters that, and you can absolutely bet everything you have that Ben Johnson will personally make sure he does. There's no real limit to how good Williams can become. But here comes the part that really has Chicago fans dreaming. About February parades, about falling confetti, about the Lombardi Trophy being lifted at Soldier Field. Rivera didn't stop at the detailed technical analysis of Williams' game. He went significantly further and made a bold, specific, unequivocal prediction that has massive implications. This young man, Rivera said with a conviction that was impossible to misinterpret, "I really believe he's going to be a solid pro for many years. I firmly believe this guy is going to have a tremendous, historic, memorable career. And he's going to lead the Bears to another real opportunity to get one of those Lombardi trophies." Let me repeat that so it's absolutely clear. Ron Rivera, Super Bowl champion with the Bears. Coach who reached to Super Bowls as a team leader, man, who personally developed Cam Newton into an MVP. Just publicly predicted that Caleb Williams will lead the Chicago Bears to win an NFL championship. That's not a television analyst looking for clicks and social media engagement. That's someone with real credentials, with direct experience, making a serious evaluation based on what he sees on the field. It's always extremely valuable to hear how coaches and experts with defensive mindsets see and evaluate offensive quarterbacks. Rivera literally spent his entire career, both as a player and coach, on the defensive side of the ball. He knows exactly, with surgical precision, what makes a quarterback truly dangerous from the perspective of someone desperately trying to stop him. And his observations are generally quite fair, balanced, free of unnecessary hyperbole. Rivera specifically pointed out that Williams has been excellent avoiding sacks that destroy drives, and has made measurable progress in terms of intelligently throwing the ball away when the play simply isn't there. That approach of efficiently managing the game until it's time to step up and be heroic, you could convincingly argue, is exactly how stars like Tom Brady became the absolute legends they were. Williams has the talent to be spectacular, to make SportsCenter plays on literally every snap if he wanted to. But he's actively learning, under Ben Johnson's tutelage, when to be efficient and when to be explosive, when to take the easy 5 yards and when to risk everything for 50. That kind of maturity in a second-year quarterback is extremely rare and extremely promising. The implicit comparison with Cam Newton is fascinating when you examine it closely. Newton was a physically dominant quarterback with a cannon arm that could throw through walls, and running abilities that completely changed games. Williams doesn't have exactly Newton's same physical profile. He's not that kind of physical force of nature, but he has something that even Newton never had at that level, an elite precision and an ability to read defenses that's almost supernatural for his age. And now we arrive at the final perspective that puts everything in context, and that many Chicago fans need to hear amid all the noise, all the pressure, all the expectations that are piling up. Analysts across the country are pointing out something that's easy to forget in the excitement of a playoff season. 2025 is already a resounding success for the Chicago Bears no matter absolutely anything that happens in January. Obviously, it'll be a big disappointment for Bears fans if they qualify for the playoffs but lose in the wild card round. Nobody enjoys losing, even as heavy underdogs against more experienced teams. But postseason success was never really the measuring stick, the definitive standard for the 2025 Bears in many significant ways. They can already hang their hat on this season as successful and as proof of concept of general manager Ryan Poles' vision. Many respected analysts had a 9-win season and playing meaningful football in December as the best absolutely possible scenario for the Bears this year. That's already been achieved with weeks to spare. Those same analysts also repeatedly said that as long as Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams showed the ability to work together effectively and grow together visibly, 2025 would be considered a fundamental success. That's also been achieved in ways that exceeded the most optimistic expectations. No matter what happens when the playoffs finally arrive in January, Bears fans can enter the offseason with heads held high, with genuine pride, with real hope about the future. This version of the Bears is fundamentally different from the failed iterations of the past. Their future is objectively bright in ways it hasn't been in decades. If they manage to defy the odds, prove Aaron Donald wrong, and actually make a deep playoff run, that's simply the perfect cherry on top. Caleb Williams' progress alone this season has been nothing short of remarkable. He's shown measurable growth. In practically every aspect of his game, his decision-making has improved dramatically. His understanding of Johnson's offensive system has deepened week after week. His leadership in the locker room has evolved impressively for someone so young. Ben Johnson has proven to be exactly what the Bears desperately needed: an innovative offensive coordinator who can maximize Williams' talent while protecting him from himself when necessary. Johnson's schemes have been creative, unpredictable, perfectly adapted to his quarterback's strengths. The chemistry between coach and player is evident in every single game. The offensive line, which was a massive concern entering the season, has improved significantly. They're not perfect. They still have moments of struggle, but they've given Williams enough time and protection to operate effectively. That's a huge achievement considering where they were just 1 year ago. The defense has had ups and downs, but has made enough plays in critical moments to keep the team in position to win games. They've generated turnovers at crucial times. They've made stops when they absolutely had to make them. For a young team in rebuilding mode, that's all you can reasonably ask. So yes, Aaron Donald has a valid point about playoff inexperience being a real factor, but he also significantly underestimates the X factor that this team possesses. He underestimates what a truly special quarterback can do when everything is on the line. He underestimates the power of momentum and collective belief. The Bears may be young and inexperienced, but they're dangerous, unpredictable, capable of beating anyone on any given day. So there you have it. 3 completely different perspectives on the Chicago Bears and their historic season. Aaron Donald doubts based on inexperience and predicts an early exit. Ron Rivera firmly believes and predicts future greatness, including a championship. Analysts argue that 2025 is already a success regardless of January. The truth, as is often the case, is probably somewhere in the middle of these 3 contrasting narratives. What's absolutely undeniable is that the Bears have captured the attention of the entire league in ways they hadn't in years. Whether it's respect, fear, or skepticism, absolutely everyone is talking about Chicago. If you want to be the first to know the latest Bears news firsthand before anyone else, subscribe right now to this channel and hit that notification bell. Don't miss a single detail of this absolutely historic season that's unfolding before our eyes. Bear down, Chicago!